Welcome to the Torqueconomics weekly automotive updates covering the week of 22nd to 28th of March. Let's dive into our releases and discontinuations monitor. The world's most powerful front-engine convertible has been released this week in the Aston Martin Vanquish Volante. The car presents itself as a direct competitor to the Ferrari 12-cylinder Spider. They are also similarly priced at just under $500,000 US. Despite probably never being able to afford one, this is quite a cool car indeed. Next, the 4-door EV Charger has made its public debut this week. Reminder that Dodge has merged the Charger and Challenger with its new generation, whereby both the 2-door and 4-door are both called the Charger. Additionally, the 6-cylinder version of the car is expected next year. There were also rumors that a V8 version may be on the horizon, given the negative reaction the EV has gotten so far. Audi's new generation hybrid A5 produces up to 362 horsepower, which is more than the 349 the older generation of S4 got, although it does weigh more at 2.1 tons. The vehicle will be launching in Europe now, and it has not been determined whether it will launch in the US given a preference for SUVs. Hyundai released images for a new concept car called the Inster, based on the Inster hatch shown on the bottom right. The vehicle is reminiscent of a Group B rally car. Not much else is known at this stage. Nissan is planning for a 4-pickup setup for the global market, consisting of a new Navara for the Latin American market, a small truck for Oceania, US-based Frontier, as well as the Chinese spec Z9. The Oceania truck will be new and soon to release in the upcoming year. Nissan also released a new Leaf this week. The original Leaf was the first mass-produced EV back in 2010 and was a hatch. Now it makes its return as an SUV after slowing sales in the last generation as a hatch. The new SUV will try to target the lower end of the market. Now we're heading to the headlines of the week. F1 saw its first driver change 2 Grand Prix into the 2025 season. Yuki Tsunoda will replace Liam Lawson at Redbull. Honda, which provides the engine at Redbull, reportedly promised a $10 million payment for Yuki to take the second seat prior to the season, but Red Bull turned down the offer as Lawson was a promising young talent. Honda was willing to keep the offer as long as it was before the Japanese Grand Prix next week, hence this move was made quickly after Lawson disappointed in the first 2 races of the season. Also in F1, the new F1 game is confirmed for release on the 27th of May. It will feature a tie-in with the F1 movie. This game is something I quite look forward to. Moto1 published a remarkably interesting article on the cars with the highest depreciation in 2025. The Jaguar I-Pace lost 72% of its value from new in just 5 years, whereas both Teslas from 5 years ago also showed up on the list. The worst offender from petrol vehicles are BMWs, whereby both the 7 and 5 series fill the list. On the inverse, Porsche dominates the list in terms of best value retainers with the 911 and 718 in the top 2 places. As expected, a few Japanese family cars also make the list, with the Civic and Corolla both represented. Staying on Porsche, the brand announced this week that models destined for 2026 model year will get a brand new infotainment system. It will feature integrated Alexa and a new app center. This comes at a time whereby the Porsche family is diversifying its own money away from the VW group, which owns Porsche the car brand. Both VW and Porsche have been struggling in the key markets of China for their slow EV development. As sales slow, there was also a report this week that the expansion plans for the famous Porsche NATO Technical Center will be paused until further notice. Now, we talk tariff. Trump reaffirmed his plans for the 25% tariff on all automotive imports this week. This includes for both completed cars as well as car parts. This is expected to raise car prices for US consumers, as even the most US-made vehicles feature imported parts. As seen on the right, Teslas, which are 80 to 85% US made, will receive about a 5% cost increase. As a result from this, car makers have been in a rush to ship parts to the US to avoid these costs. Shares in Asian, American, and European automakers have all fell off the back of these headlines. Toyota is particularly exposed as 23% of its 2.3 million vehicles sold in the US were imported. Both European and domestic US brands including both GM and Ford also have a reliance on Mexican workers. Ford is expected to cut their dividend resulting from this, as their free cash flow will decline from lowering sales. This is predicted to be a common occurrence in the coming days. Reactionary responses have been mixed towards this confirmation of tariffs. Whilst the Korean Hyundai have committed to a $21 billion investment, Canada threw words that it will retaliate with its own set of trade actions. The Canadian PM went as far as saying the status quo relationship between the two nations are now over. Perhaps the only nation benefiting from these tariffs is China. This might sound counterintuitive, however, their automotive industry have been subjected to tariffs for a long time, hence this is actually making their cars comparatively cheaper. Evidently, BYD annual sales topped $100 billion for the first time. The company is currently the world's largest EV manufacturer and is increasing market saturation in developing countries. Chinese EV manufacturers have done well this week financially. First, Xiaomi raised $5.5 billion in a share sale in anticipation for increased EV demand. Then, NIO raised $450 million for EV development as well. Even the Chinese battery technology company CATL are also increasing capital growth for continued R&D costs. Let's talk about Tesla again. Reuters report Tesla's market share in Europe has continued its decline in February despite increased EV adoption. This has sent mixed signals to the market as its share price tumbled 30% year to date. Meanwhile, German workers have protested to demand better working conditions at the same time that Elon Musk told its employees not to sell their personal holdings in the company. Following on from last week's attacks on Teslas, FBI has followed up with investigations. No conclusions have been made at the time of this video. In other news, Singapore's luxury car sales have tanked following a money laundering scandal in 2022. The culprits were a large part of the consumer base for these type of cars, given cars in the city-state often cost many multiples of what it costs elsewhere due to higher car taxes. Nissan's new CEO pledged for more sports cars and maintenance of the Infiniti brand. Nissan overall is still in turmoil, so it is unclear whether these statements will hold true. Lastly, Honda's Chinese factories are embracing AI to decrease staff count. This will be a global trend going forward. Transitioning to our They Just Cannot Make It Right section. There was just one news item on the agenda this week, whereby Volvo plug-in hybrid models are being recalled for unsafe battery modules. The modules are allegedly at risk of fire. Now, that was all for this video. Thank you very much for watching, and please look forward to weekly videos on an ongoing basis. On that bombshell, goodbye.